Have you ever wondered why certain stories resonate so deeply within us, across cultures and throughout time? Why do we find ourselves captivated by tales of ordinary people who embark on extraordinary adventures, face seemingly insurmountable challenges, and return transformed? Perhaps you've noticed parallels between these heroic journeys and your own life experiences. Moments when you were called to leave your comfort zone, confronted obstacles that tested your limits, and emerged changed by the experience. Today we'll explore how the ancient pattern of the hero's journey serves as a remarkable map for the process of individuation, a concept central to Carl Jung's analytical psychology. This framework not only helps us understand the narratives we love in books and films, but illuminates the very structure of our own psychological development, the journey toward becoming who we truly are. Carl Jung, the Swiss psychiatrist and founder of analytical psychology, devoted his life to understanding the depths of the human psyche. He recognized that beneath our conscious awareness lies a vast realm of archetypal patterns and potentials that shape our lives. The hero's journey, as we'll discover, is one of the most fundamental of these patterns, a universal template for the adventure of psychological growth and self-realization. To understand how the hero's journey functions as a map for individuation, we must first clarify these central concepts. While the hero's journey was popularized by mythologist Joseph Campbell in his book The Hero with a Thousand Faces, this pattern was deeply influenced by Jung's understanding of archetypes and the collective unconscious. Campbell identified a common structure in myths worldwide, a monomyth that describes the hero's adventure from the ordinary world into a supernatural realm, facing trials and transformations, and returning with a boon that benefits their community. This journey typically follows stages such as the call to adventure, crossing the threshold into the unknown, facing challenges and temptations, encountering mentors and allies, experiencing a profound transformation or death rebirth experience, and finally returning to the ordinary world with newfound wisdom or treasure. Now let's turn to Jung's concept of individuation. Individuation is the process of psychological integration, the journey toward wholeness where a person becomes their authentic self by integrating conscious and unconscious elements of the psyche. It's not about becoming isolated or self-centered, but rather about realizing one's unique potential while recognizing one's connection to the larger whole of humanity. To grasp this fully, we need to understand several key Jungian terms. The ego is our conscious sense of self, the I that we typically identify with. The self, by contrast, represents the totality of the psyche, both conscious and unconscious. It's the archetype of wholeness and the regulating center of the personality. The self is often symbolized in dreams and myths by mandalas, circles, or divine figures. Between the ego and the self lie various archetypes, universal patterns or images that derive from the collective unconscious, that part of the unconscious mind that is shared among beings of the same species and contains the accumulated experiences of humanity. These archetypes manifest in myths, religions, and fairy tales across cultures, and they also appear in our dreams and fantasies. The collective unconscious is like a river that flows beneath our individual conscious minds, carrying the ancestral memories and wisdom of our species. It contains archetypal images such as the hero, the wise old man, the great mother, the shadow, and many others. Now, how does the hero's journey map onto the process of individuation? The hero archetype represents the ego's journey toward the self. The call to adventure is like the initial prompt from the unconscious that something in our lives needs attention or transformation. Refusing the call represents resistance to growth and change. Crossing the threshold symbolizes leaving the comfort of the conscious ego and venturing into the unknown territory of the unconscious. The trials and challenges encountered along the way represent the confrontations with various aspects of the psyche, particularly the shadow. Those disowned parts of ourselves that we project onto others. The meeting with mentors and allies symbolizes the help we receive from archetypal figures or actual people who guide us on our journey. The central ordeal, often a symbolic death and rebirth, represents the ego's confrontation with the self, a moment of profound transformation where our old identity dies and a more comprehensive one is born. The return to the ordinary world symbolizes the integration of these insights into everyday life, bringing the treasures of the unconscious back to benefit both oneself and the community. Think of the hero's journey as a map of the psyche's landscape, with the ego as the traveler, setting out to explore the vast territory of the unconscious, ultimately seeking reunion with the self. Like any good map, it doesn't dictate the exact route. Each person's journey is unique, but it shows the landmarks and territories that are likely to be encountered along the way. Development 2. Application and examples. The hero's journey as a map for individuation isn't merely an abstract psychological theory. It manifests in our lives, in our cultural stories, and in the very structure of human development. Let's explore some concrete examples to see this pattern in action. In our daily lives, the hero's journey appears whenever we face significant life transitions. Consider the journey of starting a new career. The call to adventure might be a growing dissatisfaction with one's current job or an unexpected opportunity. Crossing the threshold could be the first day at a new workplace. The trials and challenges include learning new skills, navigating workplace politics, and proving oneself. The ordeal might be a major project or crisis that tests one's abilities to the limit. The return comes as one achieves competence and brings new insights back to the organization. Similarly, the journey of parenthood follows this pattern. The call might be the desire for a child or an unexpected pregnancy. The threshold crossing is birth itself. The trials include sleepless nights, balancing work and family, and confronting one's own limitations. The ordeal might be a child's serious illness or a crisis of identity as a parent. The return involves integrating one's identity as a parent with one's previous roles and bringing the wisdom gained to the broader community. In popular culture, we find countless examples of the hero's journey that also illustrate the process of individuation. George Lucas consciously used Campbell's monomyth in creating the Star Wars saga. Luke Skywalker begins as an ordinary farm boy, the ordinary world. Receives the call to adventure through Princess Leia's message, initially refuses it, then crosses the threshold when he leaves Tatooine with Obi-Wan Kenobi. He faces numerous trials, encounters mentors, Obi-Wan and Yoda, and allies, Han Solo and Leia. Confronts his shadow in the form of Darth Vader, who is literally his shadow self, containing the potential for darkness he must integrate. Experiences the ordeal of discovering Vader is his father, and ultimately returns as a Jedi Knight who brings balance to the Force. The Lord of the Rings offers another rich example. Frodo Baggins lives comfortably in the Shire, ordinary world, until Gandalf presents him with the call to adventure, destroying the One Ring. He crosses the threshold, leaving the Shire, faces countless trials with the help of allies like Sam, Merry, Pippin, and Aragorn, and encounters mentors like Gandalf and Galadriel. His ordeal involves confronting his own temptation to keep the ring and the physical suffering of the journey. His return is bittersweet, as he can never fully return to his old life, but he brings back wisdom that transforms the Shire. Harry Potter's journey follows the same pattern, from his ordinary world living under the stairs at the Dursleys, to the call to adventure delivered by Hogwarts letters, to crossing the threshold into the wizarding world, facing trials at Hogwarts with allies Ron and Hermione, guided by mentors like Dumbledore, confronting his shadow in Voldemort, who contains aspects of Harry's own potential for darkness and anger, and ultimately integrating his identity as both wizard and Muggle-raised orphan. These stories resonate so deeply because they reflect the psychological journey we all undertake, the journey of individuation. They show us that the challenges we face are part of a larger pattern of growth and transformation. Looking to mythology, We find this pattern in the story of Persephone. Her journey begins in the ordinary world as the innocent daughter of Demeter. The call to adventure comes when Hades abducts her, pulling her into the underworld. Her descent represents a journey into the unconscious, where she confronts the shadow aspects of life and death. During her time in the underworld, she transforms from maiden to queen, integrating both light and dark aspects of herself. Her return to the upper world is not a complete return. She must spend part of each year in the underworld, symbolizing the integration of conscious and unconscious, light and dark, that is necessary for wholeness. Similarly, the Egyptian myth of Osiris illustrates this journey. Osiris is killed and dismembered by his brother Set, a shadow figure, representing the fragmentation of the psyche. His wife Isis gathers his pieces and restores him, symbolizing the process of integration. Osiris's journey to the underworld and rebirth as king of the afterlife represents the transformation of consciousness that occurs through the individuation process. These myths and stories from around the world demonstrate how the hero's journey is not merely a literary construct, but a reflection of the collective psyche's inherent pattern of growth and transformation. They show us that the challenges we face in our own individuation journey are part of a universal human experience, connecting us to the wisdom of our ancestors and the archetypal patterns that shape human development. Understanding the hero's journey as a map for individuation is more than an intellectual exercise. It offers practical guidance for navigating our own psychological development. By consciously working with this framework, we can better understand the challenges we face and the transformations we undergo throughout our lives. The importance of this conscious approach cannot be overstated. Jung observed that what remains unconscious in us tends to control us, while what we bring into consciousness comes under our control. By recognizing the archetypal patterns at play in our lives, we gain a measure of perspective and choice in how we respond to life's challenges. So how can we begin to observe and integrate this hero's journey framework into our own lives? Let me offer several practical suggestions. First, journaling can be a powerful tool for tracking your personal hero's journey. Set aside time regularly to reflect on your life experiences through this lens. Where are you in the journey right now? Have you recently received a call to adventure that you've been resisting? What thresholds have you crossed? What trials are you facing? By mapping your experiences onto this archetypal pattern, you gain a broader perspective on your life's direction and meaning. Dream analysis is another valuable practice. Jung considered dreams to be the royal road to the unconscious, containing messages from the self to guide us on our individuation journey. Pay attention to dream figures that might represent archetypal allies or mentors, challenging situations that symbolize trials, and especially any dreams of death and rebirth, which often indicate profound psychological transformation. Keep a dream journal and look for patterns over time. Active imagination, a technique developed by Jung, involves consciously engaging with figures and images from the unconscious. This might take the form of dialogue with a dream figure, visualization exercises, or artistic expression. By entering into a conscious relationship with these inner figures, you facilitate the integration of conscious and unconscious aspects of your psyche. Mindfulness and meditation practices can help you develop the capacity to observe your experiences without judgment, creating space between stimulus and response. This capacity for self-reflection is essential for navigating the hero's journey, as it allows you to recognize when you're being called to adventure, when you're resisting the call, and when you're facing significant thresholds. It's also helpful to study myths, fairy tales, and stories from various cultures, not just as entertainment, but as maps of the psyche. Notice which stories resonate most strongly with you. They often point to aspects of your own journey that need attention. The characters and situations in these stories can serve as mirrors, reflecting back to you your own psychological state and potential. Remember that the hero's journey is not a linear progression, but a spiral. We face many calls to adventure throughout our lives, cross numerous thresholds. and experience multiple deaths and rebirths as we grow and evolve. Each cycle brings us closer to wholeness, to the realization of our unique potential. It's also important to recognize that the journey is unique for each individual. While the archetypal pattern remains constant, the specific form it takes in your life will be shaped by your personal history, cultural context, and individual temperament. Your journey might not involve dragons or magic swords, but it will involve confronting your fears, integrating disowned aspects of yourself, and discovering your authentic self. As you engage with this process, be patient and compassionate with yourself. The hero's journey is not a race to be won, but a path to be walked, with all its detours, setbacks, and moments of grace. The goal is not perfection, but wholeness. Not to eliminate the shadow, but to integrate it. Not to avoid suffering, but to find meaning in it. As we've explored today, the hero's journey offers far more than a template for compelling stories. It provides a profound map for the process of individuation, that lifelong journey toward wholeness that lies at the heart of Jungian psychology. We've seen how this archetypal pattern manifests in myths, stories, and our own lives, guiding us through the challenges and transformations necessary for psychological growth. From the call to adventure that disrupts our ordinary world, to the crossing of thresholds into the unknown, through trials and ordeals that test our limits, to the ultimate return with wisdom to share. The hero's journey mirrors the path of integrating conscious and unconscious aspects of the psyche. It reminds us that the challenges we face are not random suffering, but meaningful opportunities for growth and transformation. As Carl Jung once wrote, "One does not become enlightened by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious." The hero's journey is precisely this process, bringing light to the darkness within ourselves, confronting our shadow, integrating disowned aspects of our psyche, and ultimately realizing the wholeness of the self. I invite you to reflect on where you are in your own hero's journey right now. What calls to adventure are you hearing? What thresholds await your crossing? What trials are you facing? And what allies and mentors have appeared to guide you? Remember that you are the hero of your own story, and your journey, however challenging, is leading you toward greater wholeness and authenticity. If you enjoyed this dive into Jungian psychology and the hero's journey as a map for individuation, I encourage you to leave a comment below, sharing your thoughts. Have you recognized this pattern in your own life? What stories or myths have guided you on your journey? Subscribe to the channel so you don't miss our next videos exploring the depths of analytical psychology, and share this with others who are also on this path of self-discovery. Together, we can illuminate the journey toward wholeness for ourselves and for our world.